Hello guys, and welcome to the Brony production, where me and some of my Brony friends will be reading some FIMFiction stories. This is the first episode, and this story was written by Brony Productions. So, I'll read it, and then once the video's over, comment on the next story you want us to read. Maybe a story you have written yourself. Alright. Okay. This video is called Derpy's Little Filly. Story. I'll read the description. Now, this story is about Derpy when she comes home one day to see that her little filly has been kidnapped by a strange Pegasus. She goes to her friends for help when Twilight gets kidnapped in the middle of the process. It is up to Derpy and her friends to find her little filly. And something's going on with Ponyville. Something strange. Wow. This sounds good. But, hope you guys are staying with me because I've already read the story and, it's really good. Okay, let's begin. Chapter 1. My Filly. I was working late at the post office, and I was eager to come home to my little filly. I hate to leave Dinky home alone, but I have to in order for us to stay together. I worry so much about her when I'm at work, but I still get through the day. I walked towards my door and inserted the key from under the rug that says welcome. I was so happy to see my filly. I opened the door and there she was, sitting on the couch. She jumped off the couch and ran straight into my arms. I gave her a big hug and she hugged back. She brings me so much joy every time I come home. Oh, this is so cute. Okay, my little muffin, I'm going to make us some dinner, I said. Okay, Mommy, Dinky replied. I walked into the kitchen to make us some flour sandwiches. Once I finished, I came back into the living room to see her playing with her toys. Oh, Muffin, it's dinner time, I said. She stopped playing and grabbed her sandwich out of my hose. She sat down on the couch, and I sat right next to her. How was school today? I asked. It was okay. One of my friends got their cutie mark, she replied. What did it look like? I asked. It was a cutie mark of a hammer in her nails, she replied. So she's a builder, I said. Uh-huh, Dinky replied. Later on that night, Dinky finished her sandwich and fell asleep right next to me. I flew her to her bedroom and tucked her in bed. Then I went back downstairs and cleaned the dishes in the sink and went to bed. The next morning, I woke up and heard shuffling downstairs. I went downstairs and saw Dinky getting ready for school. I helped her pack her backpack and flew her to school. After I dropped off Dinky, I went straight to work at the post office. I managed to talk to Rainbow Dash on the way to work, and she gave me some news about Dr. Hooves. I was glad to hear from him because the last time we met was a week ago. We had to save some country called Poland from an accidental nuclear explosion, or whatever those things are. I got off work early and went down to Dinky's school to pick her up. When I got there, no pony was there. Luckily, the after-school janitor told me that the fillies got an early dismissal. I went straight home after he told me the news, but when I got home, I saw the door was busted down. I was shocked for a moment, and then I heard a scream, and I ran straight inside and saw Dinky in the arms of a strange Pegasus, wearing a full black suit, and the figure of the Pegasus was a male. I jumped towards the kidnapper, but he threw some strange dust into my eyes, and I got tired and fell down. I looked back up, and the Pegasus kicked me in the face. A few hours later, I woke up thinking it was a dream, but it wasn't. My little filly was kidnapped. I searched the whole house thinking that he hid her, but with no luck I couldn't find her at all. I fell to the ground and started to cry her name out loud. Then I heard the wings flapping, so I went into the kitchen and grabbed a pot and held it close to me. I heard footsteps getting closer towards the kitchen door. They got closer and closer, then I heard my name. Derpy, are you okay? Where are you? It was Rainbow Dash. I came out of the kitchen and saw her. She turned to me and asked, "What happened, Derpy? Are you okay?" I fell into her arms and started to cry. "What's the matter? Where's Dinky?" she asked. He took her," I said, sobbing. "He took my little filly, Rainbow. You gotta help me find her, please," I pleaded. "I'll help you, but you'll need to tell me what happened, okay?" Rainbow said. I let go of her and wiped the tears from my eyes. I got off work early today and went down to the school, but the after-school janitor told me that all the students got an early dismissal today. So I went home and saw this strange Pegasus male figure holding my little filly. I tried to tackle him, but he threw some sort of dust at me and knocked me unconscious. I said, "We gotta go to the others to try to find this Pegasus. Don't worry, Derpy. I'm sure they'll help us find Dinky," Rainbow said. "Okay," I replied. We left immediately to Twilight. Rainbow said she'll probably have some sort of magic spell to find the trace of the Pegasus. Chapter 1 completed. Let's move on to Chapter 2. Chapter 2. Help Me. We were heading towards Twilight's library to see if she had any magic spells on how to find the trace of the kidnapper, or anything from her books. We saw Spike outside the library, dragging a red wagon right behind him, with a bunch of groceries. "Spike, over here!" Rainbow yelled. He turned around and saw us. "Hey guys, what's up? Derpy, are you okay?" he asked. I was still crying on the way over, so I just wiped the tears from my face. "Spike, we need to see Twilight. It's an emergency," Rainbow demanded. "Why? What's wrong?" he asked. "We'll tell you as soon as we can. As soon as we see Twilight." Damn it. Okay, Rainbow replied. We headed inside and we saw Twilight in the middle of one of her studies. "Spike, you're back. Did you get what was on the list?" Twilight asked. She stopped and looked at me. I'm pretty sure she noticed that I was crying. "Derpy, what's the matter?" she asked me. Rainbow gently pushed me towards Twilight. "Dinky's been kidnapped," I said. "What happened?" she asked. "I got off work early today, so I decided to head down to the school to pick up Dinky. But the after-school janitor told me that all the students got an early dismissal today. So I went straight home after that, but when I arrived at the door, it was busted open. And I ran inside and saw this male Pegasus holding my filly. I tried to stop him, but he threw some sort of dust into my eyes. I don't know what it was, but I fell down, and when I looked back up, he knocked me out," I said. But then I started to burst into tears quietly. Twilight went outside, and Rainbow stopped her. "Where are you going?" Rainbow asked. "I'm heading back to Derpy's house. Are you coming?" she replied. "What for?" Spike asked. "I've been working on a magic spell that allows me to trace any pony in case of an emergency. I didn't think I'd need it, but I still learned it, sort of," Twilight said. We left Ponyville, but for the first time ever, I didn't want to return home. Later on, we arrived at my house, and I saw the broken door, and I looked at the welcome mat. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. I just stared at the house with a depressed feeling. "Wait here. I need to do this on my own, with full concentration," Twilight said. She stood in the middle of the living room, and I saw her horn start to glow. It made a quick glimpse of a bright light that appeared and disappeared out of nowhere. I looked over at Twilight, and there were 4 clouds with their own color. The colors were gray, purple, blue, and yellow. I'm assuming they were these colors because of the color of our bodies. I didn't think that the kidnapper would have yellow fur, but I think that was only because he wore a black outfit. "What color was the fur of the kidnapper, Derpy?" she asked. "I don't know. He was wearing a black outfit," I replied. "Well then, let's go with yellow," Twilight said. The other clouds disappeared except for the yellow one. It went right past us and headed out the door. We all watched it pass by, but then Twilight started to chase after it. "Come on, we gotta follow it," she yelled. We all went after it, and it went all the way back to Ponyville, and it reached the entrance. But then it disappeared. It just faded away like a light. We all looked at Twilight in confusion. I said I was still working on it. "Come on, we gotta let the others know," Twilight said. "How are they going to help? We thought you could have just fixed this whole thing with one of your magic spells. But no, they let us back here with nothing," Rainbow said. "No, it didn't. If it led us back to Ponyville, it means that the kidnapper didn't go far. But the question is, why did he come back here?" Twilight asked herself. I didn't want to think about what he was doing to my filly. All I knew was that she needed me the most out of her darkest fears. I hope that everything ends well. I want my filly back. Everyone was still standing around, and I thought it would be best to walk towards Pinkie Pie's place. Once I started heading towards Pinkie Pie's bakery. They all started to follow me. I think it's best to know that they all understood me. Once I opened the door, I thought Pinkie Pie was on break, but then out of nowhere a muffin went straight into my mouth. But I spit it out because for the first time since pregnancy, I didn't want any muffins. What's this? Derpy doesn't want muffins? Something's wrong. And by knowing you as much as I do, I know that if a muffin can't turn your frown, then nothing can. So what's the matter, Derpy? She asked. Dinky's been kidnapped, I said without a moment's wasted. We know that the kidnapper is here because Twilight got a trace of the kidnapper and led it straight back to Ponyville. So we decided to gather everyone up and find the kidnapper, I said. Her smile went away. I think it was the very first time I ever saw Pinkie Pie without a smile. She just stood there, breathless. I know she had nothing to say. She snapped out of it and started to be herself, except a bit more serious. Me and Spike will go get Applejack and Fluttershy. You three go get Rarity. We'll meet up back at the entrance as soon as everyone's gathered, Twilight said. We all left the store, but before we headed to Rarity's, Pinkie Pie had to put up the close sign, and we went straight to Rarity's place. We made it to Rarity's design store, and we saw her sitting behind the desk, just sitting there. I could tell she was bored, because she sits behind her desk when she has nothing to do. Ooh, hello everyone. What seems to be... She stopped in the middle of her sentence. Is something wrong? Rarity asked. I told her what happened, but once I was done, she started to cry herself. Well, let's go. The sooner we start, the better, Rarity said while wiping the tears away from her eyes. We headed straight towards the entrance of Ponyville. Once we got to the entrance, Fluttershy and Applejack were standing at the entrance with Twilight and Spike. Fluttershy came up to me and gave me a hug. I hugged back, but it was for a quick moment, and she said I'm so sorry about Dinky. Applejack came up to me. Let's start searching for her, Applejack said. Alright, every pony. We're gonna search this whole town for this Pegasus, and anyone else who may be involved with the kidnapping, Twilight said. How are we supposed to do that? Rainbow asked. You, Derpy, and Fluttershy will look up from the sky and keep track of every yellow pony. That's a Pegasus. Also, mark each yellow pony you see just in case, but make sure to only mark the yellow ones that are male figures. Pinkie Pie, Applejack, I need you two to walk up to every store that could sell anything that leads back to the black outfit. Me and Spike will be working more on the magic spell to see if it can go any farther than just the entrance, Twilight said. We all got our jobs. Let's go find Dinky, said Rainbow. We all left to do as we were told to do. All I was hoping for was to find my filly sooner than hoped for. That was Chapter 2. Now let's move on to Chapter 3. Chapter 3. The Search. We were in the sky looking at every pony. There were only 7 yellow male ponies. I was hoping that he would show himself instead of hiding with Dinky. Only 3 out of 7 was a Pegasus, and 2 out of 7 were unicorns. I hope we'll be able to find the pony that took Dinky. I hope she's not hurt. I don't know what I'll do if anything serious happened to her. After we saw just about every yellow pony, we went back to Twilight's library to tell her of every yellow pony we saw. "You sure that these are all the ponies you saw?" Twilight asked Rainbow. "Yes, I'm sure," Rainbow replied. "Okay, if that's every pony you see, then let's call back the others, my bad," Twilight said. We walked out of the library, me, Rainbow, and Fluttershy. I looked over towards the entrance and I saw Rarity. I couldn't understand why she was standing there, so I walked up to her and asked her, "Rarity, what are you standing by the entrance?" "Why are you?" My bad. Jesus. Okay. "No pony told me my job, so I thought maybe you ponies would come back and tell me what it was," she replied. I had to giggle, even though I felt bad for her. "Come on, we're gonna go get the other ponies," I said, once I was done giggling. After all of us were gathered, we went back to Twilight's library to see if she has made any progress with the magic spell. "Come on, we gotta go back to the entrance," Twilight said. So we did. We all headed back to the entrance. We were at the entrance and she did the same trick again, and the yellow cloud appeared the exact same spot as it was before. "What's that?" Fluttershy asked. "It's supposed to be the trace of Dinky's kidnapper," Twilight replied. The yellow cloud went inside Ponyville and headed towards the food market. Hopefully it wouldn't fade away and we can finally take back what's so precious to me. Unfortunately, the cloud faded away like a light once more. At least we know that we are close. I hope we are. Alright, we know that the kidnapper is in the food market. Maybe even a food market owner. "Okay, every pony, we're gonna check out each market to see if he's here or not," Twilight said. "Pinkie Pie, what are you doing?" Rainbow asked. "I'm searching, duh." "You ponies need to start searching and stop worrying about me," Pinkie Pie replied. "She does have a point," Rarity said. "Then let's go," Twilight said. We all left to each market, but I stayed a little bit longer than the others to ask Twilight something. "Twilight, could you maybe work on the cloud thingy instead of searching with us?" I asked. "That's where me and Spike are heading. It's okay, Derpy. I know you're worried. We'll find her," she replied. I walked off into the market and looked at every single food stand. "Hopefully he'll feed you, my little filly. Please don't be hurt." We walked around the market and found only the 3 yellow Pegasus from earlier. They were all questioned very carefully, but it still wasn't enough to find her. After many hours of questioning and searching, we still couldn't find her. We all went back to Twilight's library to see if she has made any progress. We all got to Twilight's library, but it looked like someone broke in the library. We all rushed inside, but we couldn't find Twilight anywhere. "What are we going to do? She was supposed to be our last chance at finding my little filly," I cried. Fluttershy came up to comfort me. After a couple seconds, we heard a banging noise in one of the closets. Applejack opened up the closet door, and Spike was tied up in the closet. Fluttershy untied him and took the duct tape off his mouth. "He took Twilight. I didn't see his face, but I know what his cutie mark is," Spike said. At least we were one step closer to finding the kidnapper. "Well, what did it look like?" Rainbow asked. That was Chapter 3, The Search. Now to move on to Chapter 4. Chapter 4, The Cutie Mark. "It was a cutie mark of vegetables," Spike said. "Was he a Pegasus?" Applejack asked. "Yes," Spike replied. "We're getting closer and closer to this pony, and I won't let him slip out of my hooves." "I gotta let the princess know," Spike said. "You do that while we go back to the marketplace and try to find Twilight," Rainbow said. We all rushed out of the library and hoofed it to the marketplace. When we got there, all the food stands were closed. I looked at each one and they were all empty. "We're so close. How does he keep on slipping away from us? Where are you? I yelled. I jumped behind each counter and started to knock them all down. Once all the stands were knocked down, I sat down and put my head in my front hooves. He kept on getting away from us. We get closer and closer, but he finds some way to slow us down. I miss her so much. I want her in my arms. I need my filly. Please let her go, I said. Then I started to cry once again. I can't stand it anymore. I don't see my life going anywhere without Dinky. Fluttershy and Rarity tried to comfort me, but I couldn't anymore. But I won't give up on her. She is my reason for living, and without her I can't live. The princess arrived in her carriage. Is everything okay? Celestia asked. No, nothing's okay, Spike replied. What happened? Celestia asked. He took her, I sobbed. She approached me and sat right next to me. What's the matter, Derpy? I know Twilight isn't the only problem here, Celestia said. How do you know that? I asked. Your sadness shows that you have lost the most precious thing in your entire life. So tell me, what else happened? Celestia asked, while wiping the tears away from my eyes with a royal cloth. The Pegasus that took Twilight is the same Pegasus that took my filly, Dinky, I said. I looked up and I saw her wiping tears away from her face. It is true, she does have feelings for all the ponies she rules. Derpy, I am so sorry. My guards won't stop until they find the pony responsible for this and safely return Twilight and Dinky, she said. I won't stop looking either. She's my filly. I can't go home without her. I have no life without her. She's everything I have, I said. She gave me a hug and then told me something that shocked me. I know, and I hope you don't mind, but I let your companion know about the situation, Celestia said. Who would that be? I asked. She pointed her hoof at the Ponyville entrance. It was him. Dr. Hooves was standing right there. Derpy, I heard about everything, and I came as soon as I could, Doctor said. You came, I said in confusion. I did, because Dinky means the world to you, Doctor said. I gave him a hug. Thank you, I said. He hugged back. Come on, you two, we still have to look for Dinky and Twilight, remember? Applejack said. I let go of him and paid attention. We'll search house from house, Celestia said. But we know the color of his fur and the cutie mark, Fluttershy said. He has yellow fur, Rarity said. And a cutie mark of vegetables, Pinkie Pie said. Wouldn't this mean that our kidnapper is a farmer, Doctor said. Yes, it does, Applejack said. Applejack, do you know any farmers that grow vegetables with yellow fur? Rainbow asked. Just one. Believe it or not, this farmer is a male Pegasus, Applejack replied. Finally, we found him. I can see my filly. Dinky, we're coming for you, my little muffin. We all got on board the princess's carriage, and her guards took us all the way to the farm, and we saw a yellow male Pegasus working on his vegetables. This was Chapter 2, The Cutie Mark. Now to move on to Chapter 5. Chapter 5, Dinky. We all approached the Pegasus, and he noticed us, but he looked calm. Howdy, Applejack. What brings you around the vegetables today? He asked. Spike gasped and whispered to the princess. That's him. The guard surrounded the Pegasus. You're under arrest by orders of Princess Celestia, one guard said. Now wait a minute, I didn't do anything wrong, he said angrily. There was another voice, but it sounded faint. Hey, Pa, is something wrong? The faint voice asked. We all looked except for the guards. It was a yellow Pegasus and the cutie mark was vegetables. As soon as the Pegasus saw us, he ran away. After him, Rainbow yelled. We all started chasing after him, and half of the princess's guards were right behind us. He started to fly into the clouds, and everyone stopped except for me, Fluttershy, and Rainbow Dash. The three of us started chasing him through the clouds. He started throwing vegetables at us, but I didn't know where he was getting them. But he hit Fluttershy right in the eyes, and she started falling. She couldn't control herself, and Rainbow went after her, while I was still chasing after him. I was getting closer and closer, but he kept on chucking vegetables at me. He got a couple good hits, but I didn't give in to vegetables. I finally got close enough to tackle him, and I did. I was going to hold on to him until we hit the ground, but he started to kick me with it and hit me with his hooves. He got free, but I didn't let him go. Get him away. My bad. I didn't let him get away from me that easily. I started to hit back as hard as I could. I threw out all my sadness and turned it into rage. I wouldn't stop hitting him, and then right before we hit the ground, I grabbed him and used him to cushion my fall. We hit the ground pretty hard. I could tell because he barely could breathe. He took a couple of gasps, and then I grabbed him by the shoulders and brought him up close to me. "Where are they?" I asked angrily. "I don't know what you are talking about," he replied. I hit him in the face 3 times. "Where are they?" I asked again. "I won't tell," he said. I picked him up and threw him to the ground. Then I picked him up by his shoulders and hit him again. "I will ask one last time. Where are they?" I asked. "Which one do you want?" he asked. "What did you say?" I said. "We've been kidnapping fillies all day. We never went to our food stand because we were busy putting the fillies in the barn. Then my pa brings back some pony by the name of Twilight who was following our trace. We couldn't let her find out where we were," he said. I hit him in the head one more time and dragged him all the way to the barn. I opened the door and I saw 12 fillies and Twilight inside the barn. I looked and I saw Dinky laying on the ground with a black eye. Once I noticed that I picked him up and gave him a black eye. "What did you do to her?" I asked, angrily. "She wouldn't be quiet, so I shutted her up by beating her with a bat," he said. I dropped him and looked at my filly and noticed that she had a bloody nose, and Twilight was holding her in her lap. "Twilight, I need you to do something that is louder than what I'm about to do," I said. She looked at me and nodded. I closed the barn door and heard the filly starting to sing. I fiercely was attacking him. I just kept on hitting him until Rainbow flew up to me and held me back. "Did you see what he did to my muffin? Let me go," I yelled. But Rainbow didn't let me go. I started to take deep breaths and trying to calm down. "It's okay, Derpy. The farmer confessed. We got them. You're the hero," she said. Once I heard that word, I dropped to my knees. "Dinky," I gasped. I opened the barn door and went straight to Dinky, and I held her in my arms and started to cry. We were in court to trial the 2 farmers. "We find you 2 guilty for illegal black marketing and for kidnapping 12 fillies and assault on 3 ponies. Does the defendants have anything to say?" Celestia asked. Their lawyer stood up. "No, Princess," he said. "You 2 will be spending life in the dungeon, and you will sell your farm and pay $3 million to the families of the fillies, each," Celestia said. "All the food that you have harvested will go towards the orphanage of Ponyville," Celestia declared. I was happy that justice was served, and all charges against Derpy Hooves will be dropped. "You deserved it," Celestia said. There was a cheer in the crowd, and Princess Celestia said, "Take them away." Then there were a couple of people from the FPS, Filly Protection Services, wanting to take away Dinky, but the princess threatened to shut them down if they tried to press any charges against me. Dr. Hooves went back to saving the world again. He'll never stop. I was on my way towards the hospital because the injuries on Dinky were serious. I am glad that the charges were dropped and that I would be receiving the money from the 2 farmers, so I could pay for the hospital bills. I stood right outside the hospital and I saw a nurse bring my little muffin out in a wheelchair. Dinky looked at the nurse, and the nurse chuckled. "Go to her," she said. Dinky jumped out of the wheelchair and ran straight towards me. I dropped to my knees and put out my arms and smiled. She jumped up and I caught her, but I fell backwards. Then we both started to laugh. The nurse approached me with a smile. "She'll be fine, and you'll receive the bill through the mail," she said. We both chuckled, and she looked at us in confusion. "My mommy works for the post office," Dinky said. The nurse chuckled. I also wanted to say thank you, the nurse said. For what? I asked. My daughter was among the fillies that were kidnapped, she replied. Oh, it was nothing, I said. I don't think you understand. But she's the reason why I live in this world, she said. I looked at her and smiled. Actually, I completely understand, I said. I picked up my muffin and gave her a hug. Do you want to catch up sometime? I said, but I didn't catch her name. Oh, the name is Rose, Rose said. Nice to meet you, Rose, I said. I gotta get back to work. Here's my number if you ever want to talk, Rose said while writing and handing me her number. Okay, I said. She went inside, and then I picked up Dinky and put her on my back. Ready to go home, my little muffin? I asked. Yes, Mommy, Dinky replied. When we get home, do you want to make some muffins with me? I asked. I haven't had a muffin for a while, she replied. Okay, let's go, I said. I flew up and went straight to home with my muffin. The end. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, leave a comment, subscribe. Also, in the link in the description, make sure to check out this other channel. If you like, you know, just a bunch of idiots, including myself, playing video games, or if you like, zombie films, or horror films, or anything, and also even, gaming films. Yeah, make sure to leave a story that you want us to read, and we'll read it, and we'll see if we can post it. And next time, it won't be just me. I'll try to get one of my Brony friends to help. Okay, guys, this was Brony Cameron, and see you guys whenever. Alright, later, guys.